Hello guys, happy new year. So in this video, I'll be going over creating an AI agent that can read any bubble database and respond to any prompt or any question that you ask it. Yes, so that's the easiest way to put it right now. All right, so first things first, how do we achieve this? So to do this, you need to be on a paid plan on Bubble. And right now I have an app which is on the paid plan, which is my personal app called Light Day. So the first thing you'd want to do is go to your API connections and your endpoints. So what I'm going to do is I am simply going to enable this one, which is the new device here, this new device data type, and I've also given my I've created a token for access, as you can see here, data access, and it has a private key. So all of this will be deleted after the video, but just for the sake of this video, you can see the token and whatnot here. All right. So when you do that, you're going to enable data, and the other thing you have to do is over here. So on your privacy, you're going to need to um, you're going to need to enable that's access to the data. So I just created a random privacy rule here, which just says this new device is not empty. It's just random data, meaning as long as there's data in here, it should be accessible. So normally by default, you should have a better approach to this, but I believe I should have a better example here. Nope. I'll just get right onto it here. So new device. So as long as it's not empty, you can access it just for the sake of this video. All right. So here you want to see you can view all fields, find the searches, whatnot. This is okay. And here, this is the important part here. So right now I've only chosen to say I can modify the data, and you can also say I can create that you can give access to create data via API. So that's another way to do it. That's if you want, so for example, with an AI agent, you can create data in your Bubble database from the AI agent. And in this video, I'm using Relevance AI, which I'll get into in a second. All right, so when you do that, the next thing you want to do is go over to Relevance AI. So on Relevance AI, this right now is a tool. So if I go back here, so Relevance AI, you have agents, you have tools, you have your knowledge. Knowledge is where you store pretty much your data tables and whatnot. For the purpose of this video, I'm using just one, well, what do we call it, a table here or a knowledge source. I'm using just one, which is what I showed you here on Bubble, which is new device. All right, so moving on. I wouldn't say Relevance is a new tool, but it still feels like the tool is young. That's the easiest way to put it because there are a few things that could be better, but and I'm currently using a free plan, so I have limited tokens per day. So as you can see here, there are two. I have a bubble knowledge retrieval and I have bubble rag. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to use the quick one I built. All right. So how does this work? So first off, as you can see here, I have added several inputs. I have my authorization key, which was the access token I showed on Bubble. That was that endpoint. So that's the bearer key I added here. I have my app title, my app description. So all of these inputs I added, and what's the important field here? So here, this is the URL for my database. So as you can see, Lightday version test API 1.1 OBJ. And here I created a list. So why did I make this a list? The reason why I made this a list is depending on your use case, you could say, okay, you don't want access to just one data type, but you want access to multiple data types on Bubble. So I use a list here, and this is my question. As you can see, what type of data do you have access to right now? So this here is just because you can say set as default. So just to test. So I'll explain why I use a list further here. Okay, so this is my knowledge source, and as you can see here, I created a condition to loop. And why is it looping? So basically, it's going to get the data for me, but then it's going to loop here. So if I had multiple items here to say, okay, new device, for example, feedback device, all of this, it will loop, and then it will pull that data and present it for me. So that's why you can see my URL says database URL for each item. So I'm just briefly going to explain what you're seeing here with the green. So basically, database URL is this. I named it database URL. So that's this particular input here. And for each item is a, should I call it a command? Yeah. And list is this list here. Okay, so moving on, the next thing I did was to create a prompt engineer pretty much. And when using Relevance, you can add additional information for your prompt as a system prompt and the fallback in case the, let's say GPT 4.0 doesn't work, it falls back to 3.5. And yeah, so I created my prompt here using the app title, create a prompt based on this question. So it cleans up the prompt and then it gives me my answer here. But in this one, I didn't add the system prompt, and I'll explain why in a bit. Yeah, so here I get my output, and if I go over here to my AI agent, so this is my AI agent, I called it Toki. And if I go over here to edit agents, so I just go okay because I'm clicking right outside of the box. All right, so here originally you can see all the agents I have access to. So this is Toki. Toki is the agent that has access to my, I would say my bubble rag tool. All right, so here you can add core instructions, as you can see. So this is the role of the AI agent. You can also add flow builders, but I'm not using that in this use case or in this scenario. You can add abilities, but here I just simply use the following tools. So Relevance also gives you access to free templates that you can use instead of building from scratch. So this is the important one here, which is my bubble rag. As you can see, I made it auto run and no limits. And by default, the prompt on how to use is perform a rag on knowledge set. Also, I can add sub agents if necessary and pretty much tie everything together to the flow builder. All right, so that's a brief on the AI agent. So I'll just go okay. So now if I create a task or prompt Toki here on any question, it's going to go in and then respond to me by reading my database. So for example, I'll show you the data entry I have here. As you can see, we have a list of devices, different locations, and we have data fields such as how many hours of power during the day, during the night, the week, all of that in here, simplified, so that the tool can just simply go in and retrieve that data. Something else I failed to mention is over here. So on this step here, I'm using a get method. So if you remember earlier in the video, I mentioned that believe it was in settings, my data privacy. I mentioned here, I only chose modify. So that's why I'm using get. So if I wanted to tell the agent to create something in Bubble, I'll check this, create via API. And here I would use a post call. So this is where to then add an entry to my database from here. Okay, now that said, I am going to go over here to run the tool. So one moment, please. Okay, so I created a prompt already with ChatGPT or several prompts, and I wanted to confirm this prompt here. So in this prompt, I'm going to say retrieve the top three locations with the highest average weekly power availability. So when I click on that button, it's then going to say, okay, Toki is working in the background and it's just performing several steps. Too many errors, stop working. Okay, so there's a bug somewhere. So what I'll do is I'll try the same thing here directly. Here, set this as default, and I'll say run tool. Okay, so it's running the steps. There we go. So this is my tool output here. So my tool works fine. I just have to debug. Okay. So the problem here is the database URL isn't set. All right. So I'll just quickly do a live fix on how to address this scenario here. So I can see an app tracker across different location, power title. Okay, so it has locations here, but the database URL just says example. Okay, so the first thing you'd want to do here, is I'm going to go over here to my tools, and as you can see, these are all empty. So what I want to do is I want to go back up, and I want to say settings here and make this an agent setting. Do the same thing with this input. And yeah, okay. So if I go back here and I close this, okay, and I go back to edit agent, I'd have to refresh this page. Yeah, so sometimes Relevance does this where okay. So now I have access to all of this, and this is fine. So if I save changes and I go back, that's weird. So if I go back to Turkey, max retry is 3. Okay, so I just mark as complete, and I should have access to the chat. There we go. So let's try again. So here you can see using bubble rag, and it has used bubble rag. Okay. So I'll just pause this 1 moment. So it has used the response evaluator. So the problem before was it just did not have access to my URL, so it had nothing to pull data from. And now, as you can see, it's using the change tone and format template. So I will just pause the video here 1 moment. All right, so as you can see, um, this is the result and analysis of power available in selected locations. So number one is Lube, number two is Kubwa, number three is Jabi. And in conclusion, identifies Jabi, Kubwa, and Lube as the leading locations. So basically, I got my response from my database without having to create, let's say, an algorithm or any form of logic on Bubble, which would just save me time. So, yeah, so this is one way to do it, and I am fine with this particular method. So I'll just mark this as complete. All right, so I would say this is done. You see how the agent works. So basically, it goes in, you ask any question, it returns a response. Now, this is one way to do it, which is with this my approach here, which is very straightforward. There's like really not a lot of I would say a lot of complications, but this method, which is my second approach to doing this, is a bit more complicated, and I'll just briefly go over this method. So in this method, I'm still getting my app name, description, database URL, authorization key, the same device list. That's my set of inputs that are meant to go in. Now, this said, here as well, my knowledge source, which is what I call, sorry, let me just do this here. So you can see the steps on the left. So we have the knowledge source, and let's delete this. Yeah. So we have the knowledge source. So it gives us the knowledge source from Bubble. Then I ask it, or I make it check if it should basically update the source. So what does that mean? So basically, it's going to say, does this source knowledge device data. Knowledge device data is referring to this, which is from my knowledge or my data table stored on Relevance. So it's going to ask it to compare. And if there's any new data that is not in my knowledge source, which is going to compare it with the API call here that gets the data, then it's going to return a yes or no. So how did I get this yes or no? So yes or no is this is a prompt. I'll call this a bit of prompt engineering. So basically, I use three hashtags with a yes no here, as you can see, and then I say, okay, if it's a yes, it should then create this JSON structure and insert the knowledge to my relevance data table, make the query clearer, then do a knowledge search, which is go into my relevance data, do a knowledge search, which is another form, it's a RAG as well. And if I was using multiple data entries, I could have as well done, let's say if I type knowledge, advanced RAG. So at the start of this video, I mentioned I have one table. So if I had multiple tables, this is why I use advanced RAG to then prompt, and then the AI agent, since when you're using an advanced RAG or a RAG by default here, which is either this or this, there's already an AI agent that's meant to go in and inspect the data for you and then give you the right answer at the bottom. So this is more advanced, but like I said, this one works for me and it's fine. And so yeah, tying everything back to Bubble. This is my admin dashboard to send this to dashboard push notifications, and here I have already passed in using an iframe. So this is Toki on my Bubble app. So as an admin of my app, I can still come in here and ask Toki any question that I'd like to ask it. So for example, here I can say calculate the tariff in cost by location. So I don't think I can do this prompt because this prompt would require a bit of I'd say internet data. And I did not add that to my AI agent yet. So I'll try this one. Oops. And let's see how it will behave here on Bubble. So as you can see at the bottom, powered by Relevance, and here it says thinking because it's using the Bubble RAG. That's pretty much acting as my Bubble database. So give it a second. I'll pause the video here again. All right, so as you can see here, it has provided the percentage, and the prompt was provide the percentage of power availability during daytime versus nighttime for each location. And as you can see, it just did that for me. And yeah, I'm actually impressed. So basically, imagine a world where you have any app. this is my take right now on using this. So you have any application, you have all your data, and this time around, you don't really need to um, build all of this functionality. Well, push notification is important to me and feedback and whatnot, but you don't need to build most of this functionality. Like, for example, this data table to be seeing your live data if you want, but you can simply go in here and ask it anything you want. Include ChatGPT if you want, and yeah, you get your response, and you just simply carry on. So, yeah, thank you for watching this video, and hopefully more. They'll create more AI agent videos soon, and